It was just a joke. A dare. A harmless, stupid dare. One kiss. And he doomed the entire species of Earth. The wind screamed across the red, cracked surface of Varys. A dead world scorched by weapons long forgotten. Dust lashed at the outpost walls as recruit Kai Nern arrived. Just one more nameless soldier dumped into a forgotten corner of Federation space. He pulled his collar tight and trudged toward the central plaza, boots crunching over sand and bone. The other recruits had already completed their induction. He was late. Not ideal on your first day. But the ceremony? It was a joke. A stupid tradition the Federation forced on every new soldier stationed here. They called it honoring the peace. Kissing the statue. The statue. At the center of the plaza, a giant alien woman sat carved in pale stone. Tall, serene, ancient. Her arms open, her eyes closed. A symbol of surrender. A symbol of victory. Get it over with, Nern, barked Sergeant Voss, arms crossed. Kiss the forehead of the last Cyan. Seal your service to peace. Peace. Kai almost laughed. The statue had been mocked for years. Nicknamed Stony Cell. Some soldiers even used it for target practice when officers weren't looking. But today Kai played along. He walked up the pedestal steps, close enough to see the lines in the stone. The lips curved in silence. The ridged cheekbones, alien, beautiful, sad. He leaned in and, half grinning, kissed her. The air changed. Something thrummed beneath his feet. A low vibration, like a heartbeat stirring underground. The cold stone suddenly wasn't. Pulsed with warmth. Kai staggered back. What the hell? He muttered. A crack shot across the statue's face. Another down her arms. Stone splintered, peeling back like old skin. Then her eyes opened. Not stone. Not fake. Alive. Glowing blue. She rose. The remains of her stone shell shattered at her feet. She inhaled. A slow, haunting breath. Hair of starlight and ash fell around her shoulders. Everyone froze. Voss reached for her gun. Too late. The alien woman turned her gaze to Kai. Eyes ancient.
Sud.
Infinite. You kissed me, she said. Her voice was soft, musical. You broke the seal. You have doomed your species. Above them, the sky flickered. Dead satellites blinked to life. Long dormant systems hummed, crackling with light. From deep in orbit, something had woken up. He kissed a statue, but it wasn't stone. It was her. A living alien seal designed to hold back a war 1,000 years old. And now, she's awake. She stood tall, towering over them. Alien, glowing, impossibly graceful despite centuries entombed in silence. Her body was still shedding fragments of stone. The air around her shimmered like heat off metal. Kai's mouth was dry. His brain couldn't catch up with what his eyes were screaming. You were alive? Not alive, she said. Bound. Buried. I was the seal. Your kiss broke it. Her words dropped like thunder. Sergeant Voss raised her sidearm, hands trembling. Don't move. Your weapon cannot undo what has already begun, the alien said. Above them, a high-pitched whine filled the sky. Every soldier looked up. Dead satellites, Federation relics from a forgotten war, were blinking red. Orbit paths shifted. Power surged. Beacons once silent now sang again. The signal is sent, the alien whispered. They have heard. 6 hours later, the command post on Varys buzzed with chaos. Emergency lighting. Panicked voices. Red alerts screaming from every terminal. Kai sat silently in the corner of the war room, still in his dust-covered uniform, trying to wrap his head around what he'd unleashed. Admiral Thorne stood at the holo display, pale with disbelief. They just appeared, said Lieutenant Rail, pointing at the screen.
No warp signature.
No traceable jump path. Just there. Floating in orbit were Cyan warships. Massive, elegant, alien. Their hulls glowed with sacred glyphs, impossible curves, and pulsing blue veins of een. Are they broadcasting anything? Thorne asked. Just this, said the comms officer, voice tight. She tapped a key. A message echoed through the war room speakers. The keeper has been awakened. The seal is broken. The treaty is void. We return to settle the debt. Silence followed. Everyone turned to Kai. What the hell did you do, recruit? Voss hissed. I don't know.
Кый snapped.
I kissed a damn statue. That statue was a signal tower, Thorn growled. A biological warning beacon. And you triggered it. The alien woman was gone. During the power outage, she vanished. No sensor had tracked her. No guard had seen her leave. Just gone. Like a ghost. Later that night, the sky over Varus shimmered with foreign lights. Ships descended. Drop pods pierced the upper atmosphere. The old war had been dead for centuries. Now it had come alive again, and no one understood why. Except maybe Kai. He sat alone on a steel bunk, his thoughts racing. That alien. She looked at him. Not with anger. Not even fear. Recognition. She knew who he was. Or who he would become. She called herself the Keeper. He whispered into the dark. And now that she's free, what happens next? A low tremor shook the floor beneath him. Dust trickled from the ceiling. The war had arrived. And somewhere out there, the Keeper waited. The outpost was in chaos. Sirens wailed. Troops scrambled. The Federation's best had no idea what they were dealing with. Only that the sky was full of ships too ancient to exist, and too powerful to fight. But Kai Nern wasn't on the wall. He wasn't prepping weapons. He was gone. Vanished into the wasteland. Where is that recruit? Voss's voice thundered through the command hall. Deserted post again, Rail muttered. Second time in a day. You want me to issue charges? No, Admiral Thorn said grimly, watching the orbital feed. We may need that boy more than we understand. Meanwhile, in the dead valleys of Varus, Kai moved through the canyons like a ghost, pack strapped tight, rifle slung across his back. But he wasn't here to fight. He was looking for her. The alien. The Keeper. The woman who had once been a statue. And who now might be the only person who could stop what he had started. He didn't know where to go. But something pulled at him. A tug. In his chest. Behind his eyes. A faint whisper, not of words. But instinct. And then he saw it. Half buried under the sand and ash of 1,000 years. An archway. Carved in alien script. Old. Blue. Glowing faintly. A ruin. He stepped inside. It was quiet. Not empty. Just watchful. The walls were etched in symbols that pulsed slowly. Like a heartbeat. His handheld scanner buzzed weakly. The life signs inside weren't human. Weren't hostile either. Then she stepped into the light. Salana. The Keeper. No longer cloaked in stone, but wrapped in robes made of woven grass and crystal threads. She looked at him without surprise. You found me. I didn't even know I was looking, Kai said. You were, she answered softly. You just didn't know why. They sat across from each other on the floor of the ruin. There was no war here. No hatred. Only silence. Why me? He asked. Why did the seal react to me? Salana tilted her head. The seal responds to will. You didn't come with fear or anger. You came with confusion, curiosity, human foolishness. It was a joke, Kai said bitterly. But the universe doesn't laugh the way you do, she replied. That kiss was a key. It told the old guardians that your people had forgotten their promises, that they were ready for war. She held up a crystalline device. Pulsed red. That's the signal, isn't it? Kai whispered. It's still broadcasting, she said, until it is silenced again. The cyan will not stop. Then we turn it off, he said. Not with hands. Not with machines. Only a living seal can end what a living soul began. The weight of her words crashed into him. Someone has to take your place. She nodded. The Keeper must be replaced. The silence must be restored. Kai stared at the glowing ruin around him. At the ancient machinery. The pulsing symbols. Her calm, eternal eyes. You mean me?
No, Kai whispered.
No, there has to be another way. Salana stood calmly beside the glowing crystalline beacon. Her luminescent eyes glowed softly beneath the alien ruins. There isn't, she said. You're the keeper, Kai argued. You were the seal. Why not go back? She turned, slowly. Her voice held sorrow and certainty. I broke. I was never meant to be freed. The seal does not hold the same soul twice. So what, I give up my life? Turn to stone? Be buried for 1,000 years. Not stone. Not death.
Suspension.
Silence. A living mind locked in stillness. You will witness peace, or its end. Back at the Federation command post. Alarms screamed. Drop pods lit the atmosphere. Reports flooded in Cyan landing teams securing key points on Varus and surrounding systems. They're not attacking cities, Commander Rail said, frowning. They're targeting ruins, shrines.
Une inhabitée zone.
Symbolic warfare, Thorn growled. This isn't about territory. It's about honor. They think we betrayed their sacred pact. The Admiral turned toward the holoscreen, toward Kai's last known position. And the only person who might stop this walked off into the desert, deep beneath Varus. Kai sat alone before the sarcophagus. It wasn't stone. It pulsed, living, breathing, waiting. It looked like a coffin, but it hummed like a heartbeat. It will hold you, Salana said, standing beside it. It will absorb your presence, your memory. You will become the new silence. What if I change my mind? Then the seal shatters. The Cyan will see it as betrayal, and the war will never end. Kai stared into the darkness. A breeze stirred his hair. Was it madness to say yes? He was 23. He had barely lived. Never saw Earth's oceans. Never fell in love. Never even got promoted. But he looked at Salana, at her eyes, at the truth. Will they know? He asked. Who? My people. That someone gave himself up to stop the war. Salana's face softened. Most won't, but a few will, and some truths echo louder in silence. He stood, stripped off his jacket, his boots, his shirt. The cold air bit at his skin. The sarcophagus opened slowly, revealing a glowing interior molded to his shape. Kai stepped inside. This will hurt, she warned. I know. You won't age. You won't die. You won't move. You will dream of peace while the stars pass. Kai looked up at her. Then sing to me, Salana, like you were sung to. She placed her hand gently on his forehead and began to sing. A strange, beautiful alien lullaby, part sorrow, part hope. The sarcophagus closed. Stone flowed like liquid across his skin. He felt cold. And then nothing. And then stillness. Outside, in orbit, the Cyan warships froze. One by one, they powered down their weapons. Their oldest admiral, watching from the bridge, stood up. A new silence, he whispered. He has chosen. Time passed on Varus. The sky cleared. The scarred surface began to heal. Crimson moss crept over dead rock. Soft winds returned to the valleys. The war that never truly began had ended before it could ignite. Thanks to one man, one moment, one kiss. In the central plaza of the outpost, the statue stood tall. Not of an alien, but of a human, young, shirtless, eyes closed, hand outstretched in peace. A monument of silence. A statue that wasn't stone, but flesh turned still. A life suspended between breath and eternity.
Kai Nern.
The living seal. No one was allowed to touch him. No one dared. A low field surrounded the sarcophagus, just strong enough to remind people. This wasn't just stone. This was something sacred. A plaque read, "He didn't stop the war with a weapon. He stopped it by standing still." 10 years later, the outpost was now a research site. Federation and Cyan scientists worked side by side, decoding ruins, repairing archives, and rebuilding the truth of what had once been erased. Salana came often. She walked alone, barefoot through the plaza, her eyes fixed on the statue she once kissed into waking. Sometimes she'd sing to him, soft lullabies in the Cyan tongue, tales of peace, of stars, of the child who saved both their peoples. On Earth, in a quiet suburb of New Alexandria, a woman sat at a kitchen table, Kai's mother. She held a letter. Again. Another year. Another form. Status. Missing in action. Presumed deceased. Across from her sat Thomas Nern, Kai's younger brother, now a Federation officer. They're still lying, he said. 10 years, and nothing but shadows. Let it go, his mother whispered. I can't, Thomas said. I need to know what really happened. He stood and stared out the window, where a news broadcast flickered across the neighborhood holoscreen. Federation and Scion leaders shaking hands beneath the stars. He did something, Thomas said, and I'm going to find out what. Back on Varus, a class of schoolchildren stood before the statue. Their teacher explained how the Statue of Peace came from a story, one not officially confirmed, but whispered through the halls of diplomacy. A tale of a recruit who gave everything. One small girl, no older than 7, stepped closer. She tilted her head, stared up at the face of the man locked in eternal stillness. Why is he smiling? She asked. Her teacher opened her mouth to respond, then stopped. Because it was true. There was the faintest curve at the edges of the statue's mouth, a softness to the eyes, as if in some distant part of his sealed consciousness. Kai Nern knew. He had won. Not with fire, not with blood, but with stillness, with silence, with peace. Old now, Admiral Thorne walked the plaza with a cane. He stood alone before the statue. Your brother's asking questions, he said, voice cracked by age. Smart kid. Got your stubbornness. He looked up at the young man forever captured in that one eternal moment. They'll never put your name in the history books. Not the real story. Too dangerous. Too unbelievable. He tapped his cane once against the stone. But I'll remember, and Salana will. And maybe, someday, that'll be enough. He stood a moment longer,